For decades, television provided a reliable, static focal point for children. Parents could turn on a broadcast, and the screen commanded absolute attention. Today, that static broadcast has been replaced by platforms like YouTube and Spotify. The dynamic has shifted from scheduled programming to an infinite on-demand feed. Platforms like YouTube deploy engagement-driven algorithms engineered to serve the next relevant clip before the current one ends. For a developing mind, this removes the friction of choice and guarantees continuous passive consumption. Because of this unbroken attention loop, the market for interactive children's media has exploded. Industry projections now value this specific sector at $18.7 billion by 2034. This chart shows exactly why that valuation exists. A standard adult video sees a steep drop-off in viewership within the first minute, as users lose interest or click away. But children's content produces an ultra-flat, continuous watch time curve. That flat retention curve is a mathematical anomaly. It means that if a channel can supply enough baseline, colorful content, the algorithm will automatically serve it to an audience that almost never abandons a video midstream. By isolating this specific behavioral anomaly, producers identified a highly lucrative loop. Children offer the highest possible watch time with the lowest required narrative complexity. Monetizing that watch time comes with a specific constraint. The cost per mil, or CPM, for children's content is remarkably low, often yielding a net revenue of just $1 to $4 per thousand views. Producers offset those low rates through sheer scale. Because young viewers frequently rewatch the same videos and consume hours of content per session, aggregate view counts routinely hit the tens of millions. Historically, capturing those views required significant upfront investment. Creating a 24-page illustrated book or short animation demanded specialized skill and production timelines measured in months. A single asset could cost upwards of $5,000 to produce. That capital requirement acted as a strict bottleneck, preventing independent creators from achieving the volume necessary to trigger the algorithm. This chart shows the collapse of that barrier. Legacy models now compete directly against AI automated workflows that generate the exact same volume of content in 48 hours for $30. When the cost to produce an asset drops by 99%, the break-even metric follows. An independent publisher no longer needs thousands of book sales or millions of views to recoup their initial investment on a single story. They can assemble entire libraries of faceless content, media with no visible human host, testing dozens of variations without risking significant capital. The business model shifted from high-risk creative bets to SaaS-like volume economics driven by algorithmic reach. To feed that high-volume engine, producers bypass intellectual property restrictions by mining the public domain. However, simply republishing unmodified public domain content results in immediate algorithmic penalties and platform rejection. Creators solve this by piping the raw public domain text into large language models. The AI acts as an automated adaptation engine, rewriting the structure. The models operate under strict prompting constraints. They update archaic vocabulary and tighten the pacing, and embed specific educational markers, like color recognition or counting, calibrated for a target age group. Once that clean, original text exists, the pipeline executes a strategy called niche stacking. A single generated script is fed back through the model to instantly output a Spanish-English bilingual version, a simplified edition for early readers, or a variation designed with pacing suitable for children with ADHD. A manuscript is no longer treated as a finalized document. It functions as a modular database of concepts, ready to be synthesized into dozens of highly targeted variations. Those variations are immediately sent to the audio synthesis layer, where advanced text-to-speech APIs process the text. A robotic, monotone read will cause a child to disengage instantly. Creators must configure voice profiles with specific inflections, pacing, and emotional resonance to maintain the hypnotic engagement the algorithm demands. Audio is only half the equation. The primary failure point for automated media production is visual. Standard image generators suffer from character drift, where a protagonist's clothing, hair, and face mutate from one frame to the next. Producing a video with a generally consistent watercolor style is relatively simple. Maintaining strict mathematical consistency of a specific character's features across multiple scenes is the only way to build recognizable intellectual property. This chart displays the mechanics of character persistence. Visual engines now utilize reference seeds to lock specific character features. The algorithm maps that identical reference data onto completely new poses and environments. By locking those visual variables, a creator can generate a visually cohesive 24-page storybook or a multi-minute animated loop in hours. Consistency signals quality. Mastering this exact workflow elevates a disjointed AI clip into a reliable, serial asset that audiences will return to. Combining high-fidelity audio synthesis with perfect visual persistence allows a single operator to execute the workload of an entire traditional animation studio. Executing that workload perfectly exposes creators to an existential threat. The platforms hosting this content are actively fighting a war against synthetic spam. In 2026, YouTube enforced its inauthentic content policy. The platform deployed automated systems engineered to detect and penalize machine-generated media that lacks editorial value. The detection mechanisms look for distinct structural triggers. Videos relying on unedited static slideshows, repetitive text-to-speech without narrative variation, or recycled asset templates are immediately flagged for demonetization. The algorithm also audits upload behavior. Pushing out 12 generated videos a day signals a lack of human oversight, triggering filters that detect the distinct rhythm of a bot. Tripping these filters initiates a 3-strike sequence. Creators face a warning, a 90-day suspension, and ultimately permanent removal from the partner program, cutting off all ad revenue. To navigate this, operators must utilize platform-mandated AI disclosure tags. Properly labeling synthetic audio and visual content is required to bypass immediate algorithmic suppression. The ecosystem has corrected itself. Unchecked pure automation is no longer a strategic advantage. It is a direct liability that guarantees channel deletion. Because any single platform can alter its rules and terminate an account, relying solely on YouTube is a point of failure. True operational stability requires distributing the intellectual property across multiple ecosystems. Because the marginal cost to produce the base asset is nearly zero, creators have the financial freedom to repackage that exact same narrative into different formats simultaneously. This chart shows how top content entrepreneurs deploy a cross-platform flywheel. The central digital asset is systematically converted into distinct media outputs. Short-form vertical video acts as the top of the funnel. It requires minimal commitment from the viewer and excels at capturing initial algorithmic attention to build an audience. The audio tracks are exported to platforms like Spotify to capture the passive listening market, tapping into monetization pools like premium subscriptions. Finally, the persistent visual assets are formatted into print-on-demand files, offering parents a tangible, high-margin physical book without the creator ever holding inventory. This interconnected architecture ensures that a single narrative, produced at a fraction of traditional costs, generates revenue across video ads, streaming royalties, and physical retail. The digital media landscape has evolved. Now that any user can generate an image or a script in seconds, mere volume alone offers no competitive edge. Survival requires a standard known as systematized originality. The AI functions strictly as the production crew, handling the mechanics of rendering and synthesis, but a human must act as the editorial director, making the final qualitative decisions. Documenting that specific human oversight fulfills a strict legal requirement. Under current U.S. law, establishing a clear human authorship core is the only way to secure actual copyright protection for the final work. A defensible business in this sector rests on 3 strict pillars: a documented human editorial core, perfect character consistency across the media, and transparent AI disclosure to satisfy platform compliance. Passive video monetization is rarely passive. It is a rigorous systems engineering challenge, requiring precise control over machines to connect with human minds.